Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach. Masechet Pessachim, Amoud yomi, Dirshu. We are in Daf Ayin Hey Amoud Bet. Unbelievable. The truth is, today we're still at the bottom of Ayin Hey. We're speaking about Korban Pesach. Korban Pesach needs to be roasted on fire, like we said. It cannot be cooked in water, correct? Because the pasuk says Sli Esh. Yesterday we discussed if you have an oven and you take out the coals from the oven and you're just letting it cook from the residual heat that's in the oven, that's not called Sli Esh. So far so good? And then we spoke about, the last thing we spoke about is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. He said if you take, it doesn't have to be on the fire itself, it's also if you put the animal on coals. So if you take the Korban Pesach and you put it on coals, that's also called fire. Coals is an extension of fire. But the Gemara really questioned that. Is coals really an extension of fire? Because we have a kushya. We had a kushya from the Bat Kohen, a daughter of a Kohen. A Kohen is an exhausted level. A Kohen is held at a higher responsibility of Kedusha than Am Yisrael. And therefore, the daughter of the Kohen is higher responsibility when it comes to holiness. And that holiness is the fact that if she does Chas v'Shalom Znut, her punishment is more severe than another person, and her punishment will be Chayav Srefa. And when it comes to Srefa on her, we know that we don't actually burn her. What we do is we actually pour molten lead into her stomach, and she dies that way. But even though the Torah says Esh, that we burn her with Esh, but we don't put Esh, we put metal. So we see over here that the Torah says, my mistake, that was not the question, that was the second question. But the question we had was mirva. Mirva was when a person has a mitzorah and he gets a burn, and the burn starts to have a different color. Well, it depends what color it is. It could be what's called a baheret, a sa'et, and all those things. But the Torah doesn't say, it says mirva, it says a burn. Burn is with fire. But how do we know if he was burned also with a coal that he's also going to get the same punishment? How do we know it? So there the Torah says mirva 2 times. Mirva. So it's including even burning with a coal. We see from here that a coal is not considered fire. A coal is not considered fire, because if the Torah has to say burn fire and has to add another way of learning a coal, so you see that coal is not fire. Why is Rabbi Yehuda saying that when I take my Korban Pesach and I put it on a coal, it is fire? And then we answered no. When Rabbi Yehuda is talking about a coal of wood, you have a coal that is made of wood, that is considered fire. A coal that is made of metal is not the same at all. Metal, we need an extra pasuk. When it's speaking about the mitzorah, it's a metal. Okay? And what is the difference between the two? The difference is that the wood gets fire, it becomes on fire, and the metal never gets fire, never catches fire. It is heated up with the, it's heated up, becomes red, and never catches fire. What do we see over here? We see that we had a kusha and Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. That is fire, is coals fire, yes or no? Rabbi Yehuda said yes, coals is fire. But actually what he was talking about, the coal that fire was, it was fire of a wood. And that's an automatic extension, whereas metal, it's not necessarily fire. Metal coal is not necessarily fire if it wouldn't be for an extra pasuk in the mikveh. Then we said I have to repeat all these things because we're going to be using this for today's Amoud. And then we said one more thing, 1 second. Metal is metal is not fire. Metal is fire. Where do we know? From there, the Bat Kohen. The Bat Kohen, we kill her with metal, with lead that is heated up, even though the Torah says burn her in fire. So there we said that the pasuk says tisrof ba'esh. We burn her in ba'esh tisrof. In fire we burn her. Fire is fire, and tisrof is to add something else that we burn also in Masechet. We take a coal, and we also mean the metal. The metal. They heat it up will also be considered fire. So that's what we have so far, so good. So what we're just going to deal with now, before we go back, is that the pasuk says, Ba'esh tisrof. Ba'esh tisaref. Ba'esh tisaref. Burn, and fire burner, to include also metal. But that means, so now we go to the bottom of the page. The Gemara says at the bottom of the page, that when it comes to a bull that we have to burn, sometimes the Kohen has a bull that he has to burn. We just started Rabbi Yonatan. The Kohen has to burn a bull. And we say that when the Kohen has to burn a bull, it says, the pasuk says, V'sarafuto aretzim ba'esh. We burn it on fire, we burn it on wood in fire. And there we know it can only be with fire. It can't be with anything else. So we have a problem. So we see that even though it's written tisrof ba'esh, v'saraf oto al ha'etzim ba'esh, at the bottom of the page, Vitanya, last 3 lines, last 4 lines, Vitanya be'esh, velo besid, velo roteach, velo begefasim roteach. Amali, this we said yesterday, Ashta atam ketiv ba'esh v'adat tisaref. There, by us, it's written ba'esh tisaref, by the Bat Kohen. So we add it, because if you could have just said it, esh, and that's all. Lerabot kol srefot abot mechamat esh. Acha ketiv v'saraf oto al ha'etzim ba'esh. Lebasof esh. Esh is at the end of the word, last line on 9 Nemeimra de esh in midiachina lo. So therefore, what do we have? When it comes to the Bat Kohen, it says ba'esh tisaref. So you can burn it with fire and also metal. However, when it comes to the Kohen burning his bull, it says that he has to burn it al ha'etzim, tisaref al ha'etzim ba'esh. Esh is at the end. So why did it say esh at the end? Esh at the end is coming to limit it only fire. The Gemara says, Hatam nami ktiva srefa nebasof. The problem is that same pasuk that we just spoke about the Kohen burning his bull, it also says at the end of the pasuk, srefa nebasof. Dichtiv an ha'shefach hadeshen yisaref. Let's read the whole pasuk together. Look in Torah. So the Kohen is taking his whole bull, he's taking outside of the encampment. And makom ta'or, he brings it to a pure place. And a lot of impure people were outside the camp. That's why I asked to tell you a pure place. Et shefech hadeshen, he brings it to the place of shefach hadeshen. Shefech hadeshen. Shefech hadeshen is all the leftovers, all the ashes on the mizbeach. We would take them out and put them out outside of the camp. All those ashes that were done from yesterday's burning of the mizbeach, we take them outside of the machaneh, and we put them over there. That's where he takes his bull. On that place he burns it. Ada etzim ba'esh. And we burn it. Ada etzim ba'esh. So what did we just learn now? So we burn it in fire. We burn it on wood. Ba'esh. So here the esh is limiting. You can only burn it with fire. You can't burn it with anything else. For example, if you have hot lime, burning molten something, and you pour it on, you burn the bull, it doesn't work. But the problem is, al shefech hadeshen yisaref. And now the pasuk also says, al shefech hadeshen yisaref. So now the word yisaref is coming at the end. When it comes to the Bat Kohen, we said that the word yisaref at the end is adding things. Here we're saying the word as esh is at the end, but actually not. There's another word yisaref at the end. So the Gemara addresses is at the top of the page and says, Hahu, last 2 words in the first line. Hahu yisaref mi bayere kidetanya. Yisaref afar pi she'en sham deshen. Yisaref al pi she'itzita u berubo. Here it's coming to add you 2 more things to do. You'd have to still burn it in 2 situations which you might not have known. In other words, since it says you have to take this par of the Kohen, and you have to burn it outside of the machaneh on the deshen. What if there's no deshen over there? What if there's no more ashes? Do you still have to burn it? Maybe the kpeda is I have to burn it on the ashes. There's no ashes, so I don't burn it. Yes, you burn it no matter what, even if there's no ashes. The lechatchila, you burn it on the place of the ashes, and if not, you still burn it. And also, what if the fire already burnt most of it? It's mostly burnt. Do I got to continue to burn it all the way till it's ashes? You got to burn it all the way. Even though when you lit it on fire, it burnt most of it, it's pretty done. You got to cook it all the way. You're going to burn it again. You're going to burn it 2 times. So if we just recap everything we just said till now, we say that when it comes to the Bat Kohen that did his nut, she slept with another man while she was engaged. She's a married lady. We burn her. How do we burn her? We don't burn her with fire. We burn her with molten lead that we pour down her throat. And how do we know that's true? Because the pasuk says by her, ba'esh tisaref. If it would only be burning her in fire, we would just say ba'esh. The fact that it adds the word tisaref, so we can use something else, which is also like burning, and that's metal. Metal molten lead that we pour down the throat. When it comes, so that's because the word ta'esh, tisaref is at the end, it's adding. But when it comes to the which, by the way, does it say which bull of the Kohen it is over here?
Which what, sir?
Which bull of the Kohen? There's a certain bull that the Kohen has to bring. It could be on Yom Kippur. I'm not sure which day it is. Anyway, look at the Kohen when it starts speaking about the Kohen at the bottom of the page. Anyways, the Kohen, when he has his bull, it says by him he has to bring it outside of the machaneh, and it says over there, al tisaref al ha'itzim ba'esh. The word esh is at the end. Since it says burning at the beginning and esh at the end, it's only burning with fire. This bull, you can't burn it with anything else. You can't use metal to burn it. Even though there's another tisaref at the end. And we just said when tisaref is the end is adding, no, that's adding something else. This bull, it says you have to burn it on the place where the ashes are. If there's no ashes, you don't burn it? Yes, you do. Tisaref. You burn it? No, yisaref. No, even if there's no ashes. And then the second thing we learn is that even if you burnt it and you put it on fire and most of it roasted, it's mostly burnt, you still got to continue burning until it's really completely crispy. The Gemara continues.
It doesn't have to be wood.
It's a chatat. Doesn't have to be wood. Okay. Ravina. So now if we go back to our original question, okay? You can erase everything we said till now. Put the new thing in your head. We're talking about the Korban Pesach. Korban Pesach has to be burnt in fire. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said that we burn the Korban Pesach even on coals. If you take a coal that is made of wood, you can take the Korban Pesach and put it on the coals. Coals is considered like fire. So far so good. And on this we ask the question, how could coals be considered fire? Because we have a Braita. And the Braita is speaking about a person that had a tzarat. And type of tzarat is if a person gets a burn, and when he is healing, the burn looks a certain color, so the Kohen has to come check it, and maybe it's going to be a tzarat. Now the Braita says, oh, we only know a burn because the pasuk says kiviyah. How do we know also if it's a lot of other things, coals or lime? Lime is like heated up liquid that we can burn with, or lead, heated up lead. How do we know those things also, that if you get burnt with those, and then when he's healing it starts to look white, he could also have a sapachat or a se'et? How do we know that's true? The pasuk says set twice. When speaking about that person that's having that color on his body, it says set twice. So you see that it's merabeh. So you see that coals are not fire. So that's a kusha on Rebbe. Coals are fire. Why somebody else when we're talking about fire? Coal is not a fire. And on this we added, have a great day, Mordechai. On this we said, no, Rebbe was speaking about wood, but metal coal, that's where you need a riboy. But a wood coal is for sure fire. And here Ravina says, don't ask the question like that. You messed up the Braita. The Braita is completely different. Ravina ma karoch utani. The Braita never asked the question on coals. Coals, according to everybody, are fire. Vetani makot esh. Mirvat esh, a burn of fire. Eni ena shenichva be'esh ubegacheret. He learns the Braita a whole different way. We know that you get. How do we know that if you have a discoloration of the skin from a burn of fire or coals? That's how we learned it. Because it's obvious to Ravina that a coal is the same as fire, like Rebbe. Nichva be'remetz. What about hot ashes? Besid roteach, begefasim roteach. Different types of hot liquids. Ubekol davar haba mechamat ha'ur le'atuei chamei ha'ur, or even fire, anything that comes from fire, even a hot water. Menayin tanu nomar michve riba. That's why we have the extra word riba, so it's not a kushya. According to this, Rebbe and Ravina both hold that coal is the same as fire. When you have to bring your Korban Pesach on fire, even if you put on the coals, that's considered fire. And there's no kushya from that Braita, because that Braita also says that a coal is fire. Rava challenges this. Mi amar Rebbe gechanim ikru esh. We have a problem with this. How could we say that? How could Rebbe really say that a coal is considered fire? We're going to speak about a Kohen Gadol that coal is not fire. How do we know? Uriminehi gechale esh. Let's look at the pasuk Gimel together in Torah Or. V'rakach menoah machta. We're speaking about Yom Kippur. When the Kohen Gadol, he needs to go into the Kodesh Kodashim and he needs to burn ketoret. Where does he take the coals to burn the ketoret from? Well, there's two mizbeach. There's the outer big mizbeach. He has to go to the outer mizbeach, and he's going to take some coals, and those coals he's going to bring them in a pan, and he's going to bring it into the Kodesh Kodashim, and then he's going to bring the ketorets. Okay. Now the coals, if you look at the pasuk, you're going to take a full pan. Gahale esh. Coals of fire. Gahale esh. That's really interesting language. Pay attention to the language. Gahale, a coal, esh, a coal of fire. So he's going to take those, he's going to fill up his hands with ketoret, and he's going to bring it into the Kodesh Kodashim. So look what our Braita back says. Gachaleh yachol omemot. He's got to bring coals. Okay, a coal could also be an extinguished coal. You ever had a barbecue and the coal is out? So the Kohen, when he's taking a coal, he could be taking a coal that is completely cold, and that's called omemot. Is the Kohen allowed to take an extinguished coal to go take the coal to ketot and maybe light it on fire later? A coal is in how do you say a coal? When you make a barbecue, charbon? Can you take a cold coal? Maybe I'll take a cold coal and I'll light it on fire later. Are you allowed to? Gachale. So the pasuk says gachale yachon omemot. Tamun omar esh. No, you got to bring. It says fire. You got to bring fire. Esh yachol shalhevet. If you got to bring fire, so maybe I'll just bring a flame. I'll bring a flame. Maybe I'll take a piece of wood. I'll put it on fire. I know what we're going to see what that means. How you bring flame without any coals? But you're going to bring flame. Just bring fire. Tamun omar gachale. No, you can't bring fire alone. You got to bring gachale. Hakitzad. So what is it? If it's coal, maybe a coal could also mean extinguish. If it's fire, well, fire doesn't mean any coal. It says gahale esh. Mevi mina lo chashot. You bring a whispering coal. That means a coal that is making noise, like a coal on fire. You know, a coal. It's called lo hashot. It's still burning. You got to bring a burning coal. Okay. Alma haguf. Now the Gemara, before we ask the kushya on Rebbe, that doesn't make sense. Agufa kashya. Amarta gahale. Yachol omemot. Alma lo chashot esh. Well, what is a coal? Well, we said if you want to bring, are you allowed to bring? Amarta gahale yachol omemot. We said that you can bring a coal. Maybe you can bring a coal that is, if it says just coal, you can bring a coal that is extinguished. That means a coal on fire is considered fire. Again, since the Braita question, you bring a coal. Are you allowed to bring a coal? Well, a coal would mean extinguish. That means if we say omemot, if we say a coal extinguished, that means a coal on fire is not considered a coal. It would be considered a fire. Then we say, so that means by default, the way that it's asking, a coal on fire is not called a coal. Because if the Gemara is saying, maybe you'll bring a coal, well, that would mean extinguished. That means a coal on fire is not called a coal. Eshninu, ema seifa, but then look at the end of the Braita. Esh, yachol shalhevet, tamuloma gahale, alma afilu lo chashot, lav eshninu. Well, the opposite, said bring fire. Can you bring fire? No, you got to bring a coal. That means fire, and that means alma afilu lo chashot, lav esh. What's the limud over here? Yachol shalhevet. Can you bring fire? Tamuloma gahale. No, you can't bring fire. You got to bring a coal. Alma afilu lo chashot lav eshninu. Here the diuk is that even something that's on fire is not called fire. A coal that's on fire is not called fire. So what is it? We don't know. V'amar Rav Sheshet. So here's Rav Sheshet explains. Achi katane gachale yachol ben omemot ben lo chashot. Here's what the Braita meant. When the Braita really said, are you allowed to bring coal? Coal could either mean extinguish, coal could even mean on fire. You can bring either two. When the Torah is saying bring a coal, it says, when the Torah has a question, the Braita has a question, could you bring a coal? It could be either one on fire, it could be even one extinguished. Tamul omar esh. No, you can't. You have to bring also a fire. Esh, yachol shalhevet. Fire, I could bring only a fire itself with no coal. Tamul omar gahade. Akitzad mevi mina lo chashot. Therefore, you have to bring, like we said, a coal that's on fire. Mikol makom gahanim nabi kresh kasher Rebbe. Bottom line, out of all this, we see a burning coal is not called fire. And I'll explain that one more time. Rebbe says, kol ban Pesach, you could put it on coals. And even the Torah says you have to burn it on fire. We just see from this Braita that coals on fire are not called fire. You know why we do that? Because the Torah is saying a Kohen Gadol. He needs to go in with a pan of coals. Could he bring just coals? Whether a burning coal or a flaming coal, because the Torah says maybe I'll just bring coals, meaning a coal that's extinguished, a flickering one. I can bring one. No, it says esh. You have to bring esh, so you can't bring an extinguished one. You got to bring for sure one that's burning. But you see, it's not called esh. Since the Torah tells you esh, you got to bring esh. It means that a burning coal is not called esh. If a burning coal is not called esh, so how could Rebbe tell us if you put your coal and Pesach on the coals, it's called esh? It's not esh at all. So the Gemara answers. Abaye, Amar Abaye, Tiretza, Amar Abaye Tiretzachi. Here's how Abaye will answer. Gachale, so really when the Torah asks, the Bait asks, can you bring coals? Gachale yachon omimot velo nechashot. Maybe what it meant is, can you bring a coal that is extinguished and not bring a coal that is on fire? Talmud lomar esh. No, you got to bring one on fire. I esh yachon ratza shalhevet yavi ratza gacheret yavi talmud lomar gachale. So here's how Abai is going to answer. Actually, what we're talking about is that the Torah's questioning, can you bring coals? Even a cold one I can bring? Or I have to bring a burning one? Torah says esh, you got to bring a burning one. You got to bring a burning one. Okay, so now when he told me esh, can I bring just burning coals, which are fire? Or can I bring just a fire without any coals? Well, Torah says, no, you got to bring gachale esh. So you got to bring a coal on fire. So what did we just see over here? That when the Braita is asking a question, what do you have to bring? And it says you have to bring a coal on fire. If it would say only fire, you would have the option of two things to bring. You could bring a fire or a coal on fire. The fact that it said gachale ish is only a coal on fire. And therefore that is the answer. That's how we're going to prove that a fire or a coal on fire is considered fire for Rebbe, and it's allowed to put your korban Pesach on the coal of fire. Little stretch. Amar Rava, the Rava doesn't understand that. Amar Rava, ratza gacheret yavi, ratza shalhevet yavi, shalhevet b'ro gacheret. Ech im esh gachane.
He said it's heavy. I told him that's your word.
It's heavy?
Yeah.
What's heavy?
This.
Heavy to understand or heavy?
To understand, to
It's
comprehend, to...
At least you're going to get the bottom line you'll get. We're going through that and you'll get the bottom line. You're getting a lot of concepts. And believe me, the Gemara, in Sod it's written that everything you learned in this world, even if you didn't go deep, you're allowed to learn it again in the next world. And so just by sitting, people are going to tell you, you're sitting there, you don't understand, what are you doing, you're wasting your time. Tell them, shush. He's on his phone looking at TikTok. He's going there, he's wasting his time doing nothing. Here, whatever you learn here, you're allowed to learn in the next world. And you're allowed to learn it on much deeper levels. Whatever you didn't learn in this world, you can't learn there. So the people who go to Daf Yomi and Amoud Yomi and all these shiurim, even if they're not getting it perfect, first of all, you're getting a lot. Because you're learning a lot of concepts. Second, is the light of the Torah is making you pure. You're coming out more pure after the shir, that's for sure. You're going to pray better, you're not going to do averot, you're going to have shemirat einayim, you're going to appreciate kedusha. It's also giving you parnasat tova. The Zohar says, "Kavate itim la Torah," and it's written, "Potech et yadecha adarta noten et ochlam beito." You give parnasat beito, kavate itim la Torah. The ito is if you sit every day in a shir. Every day you have a shir. Second, in the next world, you're going to have access to this. That's why it's good to learn Zohar. It's good to learn everything. Even things you don't understand, go through it, read it, sit in it, hear a shir. Reb Chaim Kanievsky had a chavuta. He was a big lamdan. He told him, listen, I beg of you, start learning the Zohar. Because when Mashiach is going to come, he's going to everything, and it's going to be Olam Haba. All the things that you learned, you're going to be able to have access on them, and whoever didn't learn it here is going to bite his teeth, bite his nails from seeing the beauty. Just to sit half an hour in a shir of Gemara, and over 10 years you go through the whole Shas, 14 years you go through the Shas, you know that today is the 1 year anniversary of the shir. Today we started last year on today on Chanukah. And how many pages did we do? We did the whole Masechet Eruvin, and we're very close to Masechet Pessachim. Now, you just do another 12, 13 years like this, you finish the whole Shas. So what, half an hour a day? It's nothing. Okay, me preparing, believe me, takes me a few hours to prepare. But just to sit in the shir itself is you're going to have a big thing in the next world. So I know people are going to tell you, but don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. Now, there is what to speak about, taking another subject, sitting, doing it slowly, going over it, becoming an expert in it. And I propose that we should learn another shir after this. I really think that nobody should leave here before 10 o'clock in the morning. We can have Chai Moran, we're going to have Yomi, we're going to do Likutei Moran 20 minutes, we're going to do 15 minutes Halacha after, and then we're going to do Sugya. And we're going to learn something till the end. Then you're going to have 8 to 10. What's 8 to 10? It's nothing. 8 to 10. It's nothing. Go to work, you're going to make a lot more money. I promise. Whoever will stay will make more money than if he doesn't stay. It's a promise. Huh? It's a promise. What's wrong with the Torah?
There's only Korban Todah, no?
Yes.
So he's not. You have to worry.
Okay. But Mr. Cohen, you got to know these halachot. This is your job. You got to know this stuff. Okay, so let's just so what are we saying over here? So basically, here's a bright. Okay, I'm just going to give you a small recap. By the way, who says this? Who says what I just told you? Rabbeinu. Rabbeinu said that's why Rabbeinu is going against everybody. Rabbeinu is saying learn the whole Torah. By the way, Rav Chaim Kanievsky also. The Gdolim who know the secret, they go and they finish Mishnayot, finish Tanakh. Learn. Because after 120, you're going to be so thankful. Now, Rabbeinu said, go quickly through the Torah. Go again, and again. Finish and go again. And because Rabbeinu is saying, whatever you don't know now, that Tilavu, we're going to remind it to you, you're going to have access to it. So let's just say the simple braita that we said till now. The Kohen Gadol has to bring coals into a pan, and he has to bring it into the Kodesh Kodeshim. The pasuk says, Gachale Esh. Hey, what does it mean, Gachale Esh? Isn't a coal fire? Why is it saying Esh? Why is it saying coal? Why is it saying fire? If it says Gachale, so maybe I could choose. I could bring a cold coal or a hot coal. I could bring either one. I can choose even a cold one. Gachale? No, you gotta bring Esh. You gotta bring only the coal that's on fire. You can't bring a cold one. So you see that fire and a coal is the same thing. A coal on fire is called fire. Okay, maybe I'll just bring fire. Maybe I'll just bring, it says Esh. So I can bring a coal on fire, or I can bring fire. Esh. No, Gachale Esh. You can only bring a coal on fire. From here we see that a coal on fire is fire. And that's why Rebbe told you, if you take your korban Pesach on a coal, it's good, it's kosher, even though the Torah says to burn it on fire. The only problem with this is that in the possibility, what the Gemara just said in Abaye, is that you would have thought maybe you could bring fire, maybe you could bring a coal of fire. Rava says, what's fire without a coal? How do you bring a fire without a coal? Here's how he says. How do you do it? Echi mishkachana, kegon deshaifa lemana, mishicha. You take the pan and you put oil. Ve'atre benura, you put it on fire. You spray a lot of oil over there. You fill it with oil, and then you put the oil on fire. But you know what's going to do? That's going to smoke up. It's going to be full of smoke, right? Hahu lama likha limaute. And then we tell you, no, the Torah says don't do that. The pasuk says don't bring fire, bring a coal of fire. And I ask you a question. The Gemara says, Ashta lifnei melech manchemat basar v'dam enosin ken lifnei melech manchem menachim. You're not allowed to burn. You're not allowed to burn. If you would come into a king and you have to make him some. Is it true that some restaurants they come and make the food in front of you? Mm-hmm. That's like a fancy thing. It's like a show. What is it?
It's a show.
It's a show.
Yeah.
Depends.
So imagine if you're having coming to a king and you got to make him. Will you put it on coals? Or you're going to bring the smoke in front of him. You're not going to bring the smoke in front of the king. So why would the Braita even question that the Torah is going to tell you not allowed to do that? For sure you're not going to do that. For sure it's coals. So Rava accepts the drash. Just he says on the possibility of fire or fire with coals, he doesn't say that's the pshat. So Rava says like this very quickly, Teretz Achi. And I need your help for a second, Chaim. Okay, so when you're going to bring fire, you could either bring when it says coals, you can either bring an extinguished coal or a flickering coal. Talmud says fire, you got to bring the flickering one. Esh, or maybe bring fire. Half coal, I need your help now. Half coal, half fire. What does it say over there for that? I had trouble in the Rashi. You're going to bring maybe a half coal or half fire. And how's it going to be? And by the time you get in, it's going to be completely fire. Does it say there's something?
And the scripture had stated only fire might be thought of that he may take a burning piece of wood that is half coal and half flame from the altar. So that by the time he enters the Holy of Holies with it, it should be entirely coal.
Got it. Okay, so what? A piece of wood smokes. A coal does not smoke. Is that correct? Piece of wood gives off smoke. Yeah. A piece of coal does not give off smoke. So when it says you're going to bring fire or coal, pirush, half fire, half coal. Take a piece of wood that's half coal and half wood. So it's still burning, but the time I get into the Kodesh Kodeshim, it's going to become fully a coal. So am I allowed to do that? I didn't bring any smoke into the Beit Mikdash. The smoke is downside. The Gemara says, Tamun Omar B'Rakach Mane Machta Gachare Esh me'ana mizbeach, mishad likicha ne'evu gachanim. So it says you got to take it when it's already fire from the time you take it from the mizbeach. You got to take it already a coal. It has to be a coal and it can't be half fire. So that is the end of the sugya. We're going to just do one more line and then we're going to go to the Mishnah. But I'll just tell you one second. How much time did we do?
29.
Okay, just give me 2 more minutes. Let's repeat this one more time. So Rav explains it differently. Rav says, the Torah says, Gacheret and Esh. What does that mean? Is it Gacheret or is it Esh? Well, it's actually a combination of both. Can you bring, when it says Gacheret, maybe I can bring a Gacheret, a coal which is extinguished. No, it says Esh. So you got to bring the fiery one. There's 2 types. There's a Gacheret that was extinguished or together with this fire. The Torah says Esh. You got to bring the one that is fire, but it's considered fire. And that's what we need for our purpose. That this is considered fire, and therefore your korban pesach will be put on this. Okay, so maybe I can bring this. I can choose between this coal on fire or actual fire. What does it mean actual fire? It doesn't mean a smoky pan to bring in the Beit HaMikdash. That's not nice. That's not kabut for a king. For sure not for Hashem. So it means, what do we mean fire or gacheret? What do we mean? To fire that's going to turn to a gacheret. I take a piece of wood that's burning. But it's already a little bit coal-like. But by the time I get in, it's going to be fully coal. And that's called esh in our circumstances. Esh on the outside, coal on the inside. Are you allowed to do that? You're not. You got to take the coal on fire. Bottom line, all this to say, is that your coal on Pesach, you're allowed to put it, you have to roast it on fire. And a coal is also considered fire. A coal that is on fire is considered fire. The Gemara just says, last question over here, on the word omemot. The Gemara says, Ibaidu, omemot or omemot? With an aleph or with an ayin? When we say something is extinguished, a coal is extinguished.
It's smoldering. It's not extinguished. It's like it's burning slowly with smoke, but no flame.
Smoldering.
So there's smoldering or flickering.
Okay, flickering is a little flame and
still active, but
okay,
very,
that makes more sense. So everything I said for now is
Flickering is at the beginning.
flickering is lochashot.
It's when you started.
No, it's more like more on fire.
It's still on fire. And omemot is already going out.
Smoldering is like it's
going out.
burning slowly.
It's burning slowly out. So it's got to be a hot one. It can't be a. Okay, the Gemara says. So the Gemara says, Amar Yitzchak, Arazim lo omemu began erukim. So here, certain trees did not lose their appearance, and you see that with the word ayin. It's speaking about a certain king in Am Yisrael. It was Melech Hiram, and Hiram Melech Tzur Ne'emar, a certain king. That his appearance did not diminish, meaning he was a strong, good-looking king. Seems to be, that's what it seems to me. And therefore you see that the word omemot is with ayin, that it's going down. It did not go down. So you see the word omemot is with an ayin. Little Mishnah, very quickly. Naga bechereso shel tanu. So now you have the Korban Pesach. We'll finish in a minute. You have the Korban Pesach, and what does it do? It's in the oven, and you know that it has to be touching the fire, right? Now it touched the wall of the oven. So now it cooked from the wall of the oven. Part of the animal cooked from the wall of the oven. It didn't cook from the fire. What do? You cloth. You got a skin, and what is it called in English? The skin.
Peel off.
To peel off that little place. Because that little place of the meat, it was cooked by the wall of the oven. It wasn't cooked by the fire. Yiklof et mekomo, to peel it off. Nataf mirotavo al acheres. So what about this? A little bit of the juice of the meat fell onto the oven, and then that juice went back into the animal. So it's sort of like dripped off and it touched again. Now the liquids go deeper than just peeling off the piece. It's not peeling off a little layer. You got to go deep. Now you got to cut out a big piece, because when it just touches this, when the animal just touches the side of the wall, so just the side of the wall was cooked by the oven. But if a piece of liquid that was inside that touched the oven goes in deep into the animal, then you got to go take out a whole big piece until the place where the liquid penetrated. So now you have hot flour, and a little bit of the liquid of the animal fell into this flour. A little bit of liquid fell into the animal. A little bit of liquid of the animal fell into the flour that was very hot, and it cooked in the flour. So now the liquid cooked in the flour. It was cooked not with fire. It was cooked with the flour. A hot flour, the juice is going to go in. It's going to cook it. Now what are you going to do? You can't eat that flour because it has inside of it juice of a korban pesach that was cooked not with fire. What do? Yikmotz et mekomo. You take a handful of the flour and you take all that flour out where there's a little bit of liquid inside. Sako b'shemen truma. Now sometimes they would smear the korban pesach with a little bit of oil. A little bit of oil on the meat that's going to make it taste better. So what they do, they smeared it, they anointed it with shemen of truma. But truma is only for kohanim. So im chaburat kohanim yochlu. If they're kohanim, they're allowed to eat it. Im shel Yisrael im chayhu yedichenu. So if it still has not been cooked and it's hard, the skin, so you just wash it off. It goes off. But if, by the way, a lot of halachot and kashrut are coming out from this. A lot of halachot, if milk fell on your thing and all these things all coming out from over here. Because here we're seeing if something non-kosher went into something, how do you do? How do you penetrate it? It's called klifa, it's called yiton mekomo. Here too, it's something cold. You have like a very, very smooth piece of food, meat, and then like you have some milk that falls on it. Well, if it's on the outside of the animal, just wash up the animal, no problem. But if it's already cooked, now it's soft, now it's going to go inside. Now you got to peel the outer layer. Now you know what's maser sheni, right? Maser sheni is if you have liquids that you have to give truma, you got to give maser, and you got to say maser sheni. Maser sheni, you bring it to Jerusalem, you eat it in Jerusalem. So now they did a mistake. What they took this oil and they smeared the animal with maser sheni oil. Lo yasenu damim. You know, there is a concept that you can redeem the maser sheni. Do you know that? Mm-hmm. So let's say you live in Tzfat and you have a lot of maser sheni. You have a lot of grapes and a lot of oil and a lot of wine. And it's too much to carry for you. So what you can do, you can take 125%. You can take that item. You can redeem it on money. So if it's worth $100, you give $125. You take the money, $120. You bring it to Jerusalem and you buy food over there. But here you brought the food. You didn't do that. You brought the oil from Haifa, from Tzfat. You brought it to Jerusalem. Now you have the oil. You put it on the kol message. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I wanted to use it for something else. No, eat it. You're allowed to eat it there, and don't redeem it because you're not allowed to redeem Maser Sheni money in Jerusalem. That's what it says. Lo yasenu damim al bnei chabura shen podin Maser Sheni b'Yerushalayim. We're not allowed to redeem the Maser Sheni money in Yerushalayim. Beruchim to you.